Steve Jobs was a businessman, inventor, and investor best known for co-founding the technological giant Apple Incorporated. He co-founded Apple in 1976, starting out working on the desktop computer Apple, Apple II, and the Macintosh. These computers were original and legendary because at that time, no one really had a way to use a personal computer at home, as the only computers in that use during that time were the, quote, green screens for laboratory use only. Jobs saw the use of one of the very first, quote, mouses that one could use to navigate in the computer. Same mouse design that is still used today 50 years later. Apple Inc. went through some rough years in the mid-'80s, but when Steve Jobs came back, he was able to rally the company to where it became one of the biggest, most profitable companies in the world. Jobs was considered among a lot of people to be impatient with his coworkers, into an almost complete intolerance for anything but perfectionism. However, not only did he lead a company into creating a product that practically everyone in the world has heard of, he was surrounded by almost the entire organization who had nothing but great things to say about him at his funeral when he died. Steve Jobs was known for his uncompromising commitment to quality and innovation. For example, Jobs' decision to prioritize user experience and design integrity over short-term profits, as evidenced by the development of products like the iPhone and MacBook. These are what we think of when we analyze what kind of leader Steve Jobs was and what were his moral and ethical actions. Moral framework. First off, Jobs was a moral objectivist. He demonstrated a strong belief in objective moral principles, particularly evident in his emphasis on delivering products that enhanced users' lives. Jobs also focused on achieving desirable outcomes, such as revolutionary technological advancements of which aligns with the technological outlook. Lastly, while Jobs prioritized outcomes, he also adhered to certain principles such as design integrity, irrespective of consequences. I myself worked as a contractor for Apple Inc. for almost 13 years, and everyone on campus was amazingly proud to make the best product in the world, and they were also intensely proud to say their products were so easy to use that you didn't need an instruction book to come with the package. Reflection on personal ethics. There's no question that Steve Jobs' strengths in moral and ethical decision-making were about integrity and commitment to excellence. But there's also areas of growth that should be considered for areas of improvement, such as considering broader societal impacts in decision-making. If you ever watched the movie Steve Jobs, starring Michael Fassbender and Jeff Daniels, you come out thinking that Jobs was an overbearing scoundrel who treated his friends, family, and coworkers poorly. Some of that may have been based on truth, but I also know, especially since I was an actor in that movie, that the production of the film had very little cooperation with the actual company, and they weren't even allowed to film any of the movie on Apple's campus. Perhaps Apple's view back then was that they made computers and smartphones, not movies. This may have had a factor on the production company displaying such a foul perception of Steve Jobs. Crisis management. Jobs' commitment to quality and innovation to prioritize effective solutions can apply during emergencies and emergency management. Ensuring that safety and well-being of affected individuals is the utmost importance. Also, Jobs' ability to communicate a compelling vision and engage stakeholders to rally support and resources is in the essence what we do for emergency response efforts. There are two ethical theories in practice. The first, utilitarianism. Jobs' emphasis on user experience and technological innovation aligns with maximizing utility for consumers. In the Australasian Journal of Disaster and Trauma Studies, they note, in utilitarianism, the moral worth of an action is determined only by its resulting consequences, which is often expressed via the concept, the greatest good for the greatest number. The second, Kantian ethics. Jobs' adherence to design integrity reflects a commitment to treating users as ends in themselves rather than the means to an end. In conclusion, it is important to remember that Jobs' complete commitment to perfectionism and doing the best work possible is in alignment with the qualities, merits, and ethical framework that we expect in our emergency management leaders. Stakeholders, government officials, media, and the citizens rely on and demand those commitments from them, and I have no doubt that had Steve Jobs been an emergency manager rather than a business leader, he would have done a remarkable job.